Broadcasts of HIKI NŌ are made possible by the support of viewers like you. Mahalo. And by Bank of Hawaii Foundation, investing in Hawaii's future by promoting collaboration, critical thinking, and other 21st century skills through HIKI NŌ. Kamehameha Schools, empowering Hawaiian keiki to explore, discover, and inspire. ABC Stores, a local company helping to transform education and develop Hawaii's workforce through bold learning initiatives like HIKI NŌ.
Next on HIKI NŌ, stories from across our island chain.
Learn why the call of an almost extinct native crow is being heard once again in the wild.
Discover how some of the staff and faculty at Oʻahu Middle School are putting their best feet forward.
See how some brand new drivers are finding out what it means to take responsibility behind the wheel.
Take a look back at the pros and cons of teenagers using ride-sharing services.
Discover how a near tragedy inspired a young athlete to never give up.
And see how a young tattoo artist is making his mark.
All on this episode of HIKI NŌ, coming to you from Kalani High School, home of the Falcons.
That's next on the nation's first statewide student news network, HIKI NŌ.
Can do! We're here at Kalani High School in East Honolulu on the island of Oahu. Kalani is part of the first high school level drone racing league. The Aero Drone program was created by Asian American Junior Chamber of Commerce to educate the youth of Hawaii about building, maintaining, and flying drones. Students also learn science and technological concepts. They are currently building a drone to be used in their next race. A small drone is used to practice their flying skills. Our first story takes us to the South Kona district of Hawaiʻi Island, where students from Kuaʻokala Miloliʻi Hipuʻu Virtual Academy tell the story of how a native species of crow was recently saved from extinction.
The cry of the ʻAlalā, or the Hawaiian crow, is a distinctive sound you only hear in the forests of the Big Island. But the sound of the endemic bird almost goes silent forever. Due to loss of habitat, disease, and predators, by 2002 there were no longer any ʻAlalā left in the wild. But thanks to a dedicated team, the ʻAlalā is now showing signs of a comeback.
We're here at the Keauhou Bird Conservation Center in Volcano on Hawaiʻi Island. And what we do here is we breed critically endangered Hawaiian birds and we release them back out into the wild.
The work began in the 1970s when workers captured ʻAlalā and began to breed the birds at the center.
So the ʻAlalā, like many other plants and animals and insects and fish that are found only here in Hawaii, are really a part of this place. So I think that it's important for us to preserve, protect, and restore all of these different species that are found only here in the islands.
The first release in 2016 was unsuccessful, and 3 of the 5 birds died. 1 starved and 2 were killed by the eel, the Hawaiian hawk. The remaining birds were captured and brought back to the center. With the 2017 release, there are signs that the birds are learning to survive in the wild.
We're out there in the field one day monitoring some of the birds, and we were just walking away from this area that the birds were hanging out in, and we hear this eruption of alarm calls from the ʻAlalā. And then we turn and we end up seeing 4 ʻAlalā chasing 2 eel or more, and that's the kind of behavior that we'd hope to see to keep them surviving.
The latest release in 2018 brought some very exciting news.
They're starting to do more of their natural behaviors, which is really exciting to see, including the possible formation of breeding pairs. So we have a couple of pairs that we believe are starting to form out in the wild, which is really exciting. The formation of breeding pairs is a really interesting and exciting step. The end goal for the ʻAlalā project is to produce a self-sustaining population of ʻAlalā in the wild. The formation of the pairs, that's their first breeding step. They will form lifelong bonds with each other so that they mate for life as much as we know. And with that mating for life, they'll kind of break off from the rest of the group. They'll form their territory. They'll start defending that territory and then possibly start building nests and then hopefully mating and producing eggs.
This gives us hope that someday the cry of the ʻAlalā will be common throughout the forests of the Big Island. This is a Keauhou from Kuokala Miloliʻi Hipuʻu Virtual Academy for HIKI NŌ.
HIKI NŌ is now on Instagram for show updates and a peek behind the scenes. Follow us on Instagram at HIKI NŌ Can Do.
Our next story comes from the Salt Lake District of Oahu, where students at Aliamanu Middle School show how some of the adults on their campus are getting in shape, one step at a time.
Aloha!
Hi dear, how you doing?
Good. Would you like a ride?
Oh no thank you, I need to get my exercise in, so I'm just gonna walk.
All right. Good luck.
Good luck.
Walking is a part of our everyday lives that we often take for granted. But every now and then we need a reminder that moving our 2 feet forward is not only a great way to travel, but also to stay active and healthy. At Aliamanu Middle School, teachers and staff members are taking part in a unique and friendly competition that is getting them out of the classroom and pounding the pavement.
The Pedometer Challenge is a way for faculty and staff at our school to improve their physical fitness. So this is the second year that we've done the Pedometer Challenge, and it started last year as part of a Healthy Hawaii initiative. So our school has a wellness committee, and in order to receive funds from Healthy Hawaii initiative, we needed to start a fitness activity for our faculty and staff. And so that was the beginning of the Pedometer Challenge.
The competition started right after winter break 2019 and lasted 5 weeks. The staff was divided up into teams, each averaging about 7 members. Armed with a variety of pedometers, the competitors were ready to take on the challenge.
It's wonderful. It's prompted me to get my own Fitbit, and so I can track it on my phone and see how many steps I'm doing. As I said, I like to work out anyways, but this is making me realize how much I am or am not doing each day, so it's given me a push that I needed. It's great.
My thoughts before the challenge was I thought this is a great activity to get the whole faculty involved and get them moving and improve our health. And so now that I think that, you know, people are more aware of how many steps they're making and how much they should be making, I guess I should say.
To keep people on track, there are many challenges, including videotaping themselves doing other activities. This added more points to their totals.
The very last challenge included your whole team had to have a picture of you doing it together. So our whole team was in the elementary school parking lot walking towards Aliamanu together, all arm in arm. It was a lot of fun.
Winning and bragging rights aren't the only things these teachers want to get out of the challenge. Some of their goals are more personal.
I want to continue until at least the end of the school year. My goal is to lose at least 25 pounds, so I think I can do that.
I'll definitely try and keep walking, and I think it's a good reminder to know that on average, you know, you should be accumulating about 10,000 steps a day, and I now know that, you know, I'm not quite there, but I know that where I need to be, so I'll definitely continue with it. My goal is really trying to, you know, lose weight too, especially since I have a upcoming wedding as well. So.
The Pedometer Challenge has brought Aliamanu Middle School together for one forward-moving cause. It helped some live a more healthy lifestyle, while others appreciated the opportunity to spend more time with their colleagues. No matter how much their step count was, this is a step forward for everyone.
Let's give a round of applause for Pineapple Ohana!
This is Mariah Wiggins from Aliamanu Middle School for HIKI NŌ.
We're back at Kalani High School in East Honolulu, and I'm standing inside the school's dance room. The goal of Soulfly, Kalani's dance club, is to provide a fun and safe environment for students of all levels. The club's officers create 3 different competition routines every school year. In April 2019, Soulfly performed at Kalani's talent show as an exhibition act. Currently, the club is preparing for their 3rd competitive routine. We take you now to Makawao on Maui, where students from Seabury Hall Middle School share how some teenagers are learning what it means to drive responsibly.
Yes, I have crashed a car 3 days after I got my license, actually. I was on the way to go meet some friends, kind of in a rush, like driving a little faster than I should have. And what happened was I rear-ended the car in front of me. I wasn't paying attention enough, so I just rammed into the back of their car.
The risk of motor vehicle crashes is higher among teens than among any other age group.
It's an experience that I won't forget probably for the rest of my life. I remember pulling over to the side of the road. The lady that I got in the crash with, she was fairly nice, but I could tell she was really upset and not happy. And so I called 911.
When you turn 16, you reach a big milestone in your life. You gain freedom, but with that freedom comes responsibility.
The first time that I drove without a parent, definitely a lot more reckless than I normally am because my mom wasn't in the car, so I felt like really excited and free. You're responsible for everyone in the car. Also, you're like responsible for everyone else on the road.
Many parents are often worried about distractions in the car, such as cell phones. A parent shares with us what he thinks his kuleana is as a driver.
I think the biggest thing came back to your question about cell phone usage and whatnot, is that's probably the biggest danger. I watch him drive. He's an extremely competent driver, and I've never seen him take his cell phone out while driving. But if he were to do that, that's going to be his biggest risk.
It is our kuleana as new drivers to keep ourselves and others safe, even without parental supervision.
At the time, I thought the responsibility was all on me just to not do the wrong thing. And the biggest thing that I think I was missing was you've really got to pay attention to what everybody else is doing too. I learned to be responsible just not for myself, but take some responsibility for what everybody else was doing.
Driving allows teens to be in full control, which can scare them away from wanting to drive.
I didn't want to drive because I thought of how much responsibility it was, and I was really scared because it felt like I had so much control over everything, and it wasn't something that my parents could do for me. So I just didn't want to at first, and they had to push me a lot to practice, but the more I practiced, the more I became comfortable with it. I also feel that not only teens are distracted, but even adults are distracted too. Sometimes I'm in the car with parents or just other adults and I see them look at their phones. A lot of kids, we're just so young, we're only 16 when we get our licenses, and I think a lot of kids don't understand how big of an impact just one simple choice could make on everyone else's lives.
This is Cala Pelletieri from Seabury Hall Middle School for HIKI NŌ.
We take you now from driving responsibly to riding responsibly with this story from the HIKI NŌ archive by students at Sacred Hearts Academy on Oahu.
From sports to after-school jobs or simply hanging out with friends, a student's day can fill up fast. Without a car or driver's license, many view the popular ride-sharing service, Uber, as a quick and convenient way to get around.
I do prefer Uber over the city bus just because the placement of the bus stops aren't conveniently by my house where I can just walk and take one bus down to my location. I have to take multiple transfers.
With extracurriculars, like maybe someone missed a bus to go to a certain place with the rest of the group, or if there isn't enough room and they won't have time to come back, you can take the Uber to get there in time.
What students and even parents might not know is that Uber has an 18 and over policy that requires all riders under the age of 18 to be accompanied by an adult. Sacred Heart's parent, Mrs. Stella Silva, supports this policy as a way to keep her daughter safe.
I think teenagers shouldn't use Uber by themselves. For one, we don't know the person driving the Uber car personally, so therefore they're a complete stranger. We don't know how safe their driving is. And who would be responsible if there was for instance, a car accident? Who would be responsible for my child? And what would happen to them?
Despite having the policy in place, some students and parents, such as Lexi Freitas and her mom, support the use of Ubers by teens.
The benefits for taking Uber is that if the parents aren't able to take you, and if you don't know the routes for the bus, you can give the Uber the exact location that you want to go.
Children are so involved with extracurricular activities, and there's so much more involved in being a parent nowadays. Everybody needs to work. It's nice to just have that, in case of emergency, being able to use Uber.
There are consequences for those who disregard the policy. In a statement, Uber says for drivers to ask them to confirm their age and let them know that they will have to cancel the trip if they are indeed under 18. Our 24/7 customer support team reviews that feedback and takes the appropriate actions, which can include removal from Uber. But some passengers and even drivers like Bernadette Rosano believe this policy should change.
I think a good thing that Uber could do is actually have more of a process where they screen people to evaluate if they would be a good candidate for picking up minors. That way, if that selection is picked, there's more of a safety net for parents to know that they're being picked up by somebody that has been vetted by the company and is good with minors.
In response to re-evaluating its minor policy, an Uber spokesperson said, "In a few markets, we recently tested a program where teenagers aged 13 through 17 could ride with Uber unaccompanied using a teen account that's connected to a parent or guardian's family profile."
I think it's good for high schoolers to have a mode of transportation that allows them to get safely from point A to point B, and using technology is a good way to do that.
Even if Uber does one day change its policy, some parents will remain cautious.
Still no, because I have no idea personally about the Uber driver. I think it's more on a personal level when you let them go with the Uber driver.
I'd like to know what precautions they're taking as far as the identification and age of the student. So I'm not sure how the app is a little bit different for their accounts. I would like Uber to provide maybe a little bit more information. I think it might be a good thing.
This is Rebecca Meyer from Sacred Hearts Academy for HIKI NŌ.
And now, a public service announcement by students at St. Francis School on Oahu.
Every day, around 500 million plastic straws are being used in America. They aren't just polluting the environment, they are killing sea turtles and other marine creatures. Let's start replacing plastic straws with stainless steel straws. They're environmentally friendly and allow us to save money. We can simply clean and reuse them for next time. Let's change a straw and save a life.
We're back at Kalani High School in East Honolulu in front of our new athletic facilities. These new buildings include a girls' locker room, an athletic training facility, and a judo, wrestling, and cheer practice room. Our student athletes are now able to have the proper place to be treated for their injuries and have a practice room to call home. In addition, our Lady Falcons now have a place to store their personal belongings. These new buildings not only impact our current student athletes, but also our future generations as they are now given more resources to achieve their goals. We take you now to the island of Maui, where students at H.B. Baldwin High School tell the story of an athlete who was inspired to excel by the courageous attitude of a loved one.
I feel like getting into the blocks is the most intense part because it's when you see who you're going up against. That's like the most heart-racing thing you can get.
Striders, ready, go! Hawaii state record holder of the 110 hurdles and Gatorade's Hawaii High School Player of the Year for track and field, Ray Cadiz has proven to be an experienced athlete with these accomplishments. Despite his remarkable victories, he continues striving for more.
Some of the reasons I like track is because it's a very competitive sport. I figured out that I was competitive was at a really young age, racing up and down the sidewalk and getting yelled at. I always wanted to be the best at what the objective was at the moment.
Yet, it is not all about the thrill for Ray. Joining track was not to satisfy his ambition. It was in fact his family who brought him into the sport.
I felt like that it was mostly chilling out with my family every day, hanging out with friends, family, always staying active. I learned at a very young age from my family. We were always active, going to the park, running around the block, chasing each other up and down the road.
There is no doubt that Ray's family is an important aspect of his life. After all, his father is his greatest inspiration, his very motivation.
I was practicing for track one day and I got this text from my mom. Could you come to the ER? Something happened to your dad. Seeing the aneurysm and telling the consequences of what could happen, I didn't really understand the situation, but hearing what would happen to him kind of clicked something in me. 10 hours after surgery, he opened his eyes, and the first words he said was, "I'm sorry that I let you guys down." After that incident happened, I felt like failure was not an option anymore. I had to win or work hard to win.
Fortunately, he has made a full recovery since.
My father's doing good right now. He's on his feet and he's working double jobs. I didn't want to fail anymore because seeing how hard the situation that he was in and he still pulled through and came out stronger, I feel like I could do the same in my situations.
This is Eric Sanchez from Henry Perrine Baldwin High School for HIKI NŌ.
We're back at Kalani High School in East Honolulu. Kalani's Health Academy is commonly referred to as HOSA. Health Occupation Students of America, or HOSA students, are taught CPR in their first year as sophomores or juniors. They believe that CPR is an important life-saving skill that anyone can learn. The HOSA members teach CPR to students of all ages and the faculty and staff at Kalani High School in the hope that it will make a difference. Our final story takes us to West Oahu, where students at Waianae High School introduce us to a young man who is tapping into an ancient art form as a way of finding his identity as a Hawaiian.
And to me, there are a million different ways of tattooing, but I think this Hawaiian traditional kakao is the one in a million.
Kakao is a traditional Hawaiian tattoo art that tells individual stories while displaying parts of a whole culture. Each piece is created by using a hitting stick, a hau, to tap a needle into the skin, making intricate designs.
I see it as a way of life because I was born into it that if I didn't have this, I would feel empty inside.
For Ka'ula and his dad Kalehua, kakao is making its mark on the Hawaiian culture.
I see that kakao is my avenue to add to the larger whole. Kakao is something that transcends learning a skill. It becomes a lifestyle. It becomes a basic entirety of an individual.
Cultural practices are important because culture builds identity. Everyone should know who they come from, where they come from, and the stories that help to create us.
It's a philosophy that Ka'ula's family carries with them inside and out.
Me being Hawaiian, and I think my family and how I was raised shaped me.
He and his family moved to the rhythm of all things Hawaiian. In fact, English is almost non-existent in his household.
I must protect my culture, and this will also protect me and my family. I can feel that it's real, what we're doing is right, and it's important that we should value it.
All of the Hawaiian culture in its entirety needs to be passed down from generation to generation.
I think everyone has a different story, and we can kind of tell by their reason why they're coming to us and why they need a tattoo. Because most people come to find, like, I guess, a connection to their ancestors, or some to stay rooted or to build confidence, and that's how the tattooing kind of takes its role in it.
For Kalehua, it's been a dream to live this lifestyle. And for Ka'ula, this is Nicole Tagalikut from Waianae High School for HIKI NŌ.
Well, we've come to the end of this episode of HIKI NŌ.
Remember, all of these stories were written, shot, and edited by students like us.
We hope you've enjoyed watching them as much as we've enjoyed sharing them with you.
Tune in next week for more proof that Hawaii's young people HIKI NŌ.
Can do!
Broadcasts of HIKI NŌ are made possible by the support of viewers like you. Mahalo. And by Bank of Hawaii Foundation, investing in Hawaii's future by promoting collaboration, critical thinking, and other 21st century skills through HIKI NŌ. Kamehameha Schools, empowering Hawaiian keiki to explore, discover, and inspire. ABC Stores, a local company helping to transform education and develop Hawaii's workforce through bold learning initiatives like HIKI NŌ.